Well, we have finally entered the realm of the top 8 for the Clash Bash Season 1. And I, as a participant, now have a new challenger. None other than Pat Smash Good, or Patrick Shaw, from Off the Rails TCG. Let's see how our first round goes in the top 8 of the Clash Bash, as I pilot Dromai into the ever so terrifying Victor Goldmane. Welcome on in, Dragon Folk. Hope you guys are having a great day. We're going to get right into the gameplay, but I did want to explain to those of you who do not know what this is about. This is mainly for me to talk over the match that I am in, give my own 2 cents as to how the game went, where I could have changed things, and more importantly, give you guys more information as to the game itself. Unfortunately, there is going to be a little bit of glare on my end because didn't really think about my lighting. So if there is glare, I do apologize. It's probably going to be glare in most of the videos, but I do want to make sure that you are aware of it. So without any further ado, let's get right into the game of Dromai versus Victor Goldmane in Clash. All right, we are here at our match. You guys have wanted more webcam gameplay of the wonderful Clash format, so we're hoping to give it to you. In this first game, I am on the left playing Dromai. My opponent, Pat, is on the right on Victor Goldmane. This is my first time playing into this hero ever in Clash, and I'm very curious to see how they work out. Obviously, when Victor gains gold, they get to do a thing. I go ahead and I win the die roll here, and I believe my opportunity is to go first. The reason I do this is so I can make sure to get Ashe, and also kind of set up my turn for future things. So we did speed the video up to 2 times speed. It is kind of a long game, so I do want to make sure that we are getting a decent time rate in. So if you believe this is too fast, let me know in the comments down below. We're coming in with a sweeping blow. That is a red sweeping blow. I'm pitching a blue for it though, so I'm only going to be gaining 1 Ashe, and this is going to be for 3 go again. So here we go. I don't have much of anything else in my hand. I didn't want to play a passing Mirage. Turn 1, I felt it was a little early, and I did want to make Ashe. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to use my Glory Seeker here. I'm going to pitch 1 red and use the 2 other float to destroy Glory Seeker, making another Ashe. So now I'm at 2 Ashe, and I will draw a card. So 2 Ashe, not terrible, and I get to draw. This is going to kind of help thin out my deck a little bit. I feel like Glory Seeker's really put on a lot of work for me, and I'm very happy about it. I then get to go ahead and play a Yendurai. Unfortunately, I have another blue in my hand, so Yendurai does not get to go Ashe neutral here. And now I'm down to 1 Ashe and a dragon. Still quite a good play for the first game, but I'm not going to attack because that's silly. They're just going to waste a popper and kill it, so I'm just going to let this Yendurai sit on board with its endurance counter. And you'll see that I'm now running the Ironhide Plate. I think I liked it a lot better than the Sash of Sandakai, just because it does still pitch to get a Ashe for me, and it blocks for 2. Blocking in this game is insanely powerful, and you really want to make sure you're able to do as much as possible. So in order for me to do that, I get an Ashe, and then I get a +2 defense. It's pretty good. So this is a Choke Slam coming in for 6 with 2 float. Now this is a blue Choke Slam, so nothing absolutely insane, but the 2 float is always a terrifying thing to see. We all know that when Guardians go ahead and they play that 2 float there with a card in hand or card in arsenal, you're usually looking at a pummel. Now, this Chokeslam coming at me for 6, it's a lot of damage and something I definitely want to at least prevent as much as I can, but I'm blocking 6 here, and then they don't have the pummel. It was a sick bluff. So I block 6, I take no damage, and then my opponent goes to arsenal that card, and we move it on. My opponent also on the Civic Duty and Civic Steps. This is a way to give myself might tokens if he blocks with any of those cards, and I also get quicken tokens if he blocks with his boots. I believe that's Vigor Girth for their chest piece and a Golden Glare for their headpiece. Now here I'm going to attack with a Yendurai, since I did play Yendurai. 2 Yendurai at least gives me a little bit of a you know, a little bit of a standing here, but if one gets popped, not the end of the world. Anathos kills Yendurai. So at this point, I'm not too worried about the endurance counter. An Anathos for 6 will just wipe out a Yendurai no matter what. So there's no real reason for me to try and hold on to all these Yendurai, because they're going to have a popper in their hand in most cases. So we're just going to keep the board as fresh as we can. This is a blue buckling blow coming in for 6, no float, 1 card in hand. And it's great because we're not fearing a pummel here. Our Victor is actually running all a rainbow of pummels. So there's 6 pummels in this deck. Very, very terrifying. You'll also notice that if you did see my Dromai list from previous, I've added a lot of D-Reacts into my deck here because strictly of the fact that there's a lot of these high power physical decks that really try to like capitalize on hits. And so with me having D-Reacts and not having to worry about Command and Conquer unless I'm going to the Emperor, it's a pretty good one to be at. So I use my 1 Ash there and just make a Dromai so I can attack. So no Ash, not a great place to be, especially since Ash generation is so incredibly low in Clash. You're not able to do it as frequently as you would be with Flamescale Furnace, but I do have ways to create Ash. Obviously, I can pitch to Quell to create Ash. I can pitch to Ironhide Plate to create Ash, and I can pitch to Mage Master's Boots to create Ash. So my armor not only helps me in defending myself, but it also gives me ways to make Ash, which is very good. So Dromai does get popped there, but I do get the action point because it does leave the battlefield. So you go ahead and then can play a Blaze Headlong. Since I did play a red card, this Blaze Headlong is coming in for 4 go again. And that's a great place you want to be, because not only is it break points, but you do want to make sure that you are, you know, your opponent's going to want to save those cards in hand for poppers. And you just want to make sure you're able to make that happen. So 3 coming in now with Yendurai. We're expecting another pop, but they pretty much don't have much of a turn if they pop here. But they do pop anyway. You know, obviously a great way to take care of Yendurai is just to discard, or is just to block with a 6 power attack and not have to worry about attacking the dragon itself. You can just go face, especially when your opponent has no Ash and no dragons. Most of their turn is just going to be set up to make sure they can get a super powerful turn going on their turn and just really clap back with a lot of that damage. So they go ahead and destroy the Vigor Girth, and they get that Vigor token for next turn, and now this Anathos is just coming in for 4. Now, in a situation like this, I could very well be dealing with a pummel, but pummels don't matter so much here on the weapon because it does not add the discard effect onto a weapon. Only on attack actions with cost 2 or greater does it get the discard a card on hit. So here I just block 2 with my Ironhide Plate, make an Ash so I can be set up for my turn and get to take a little bit of damage there. Now we're going to go ahead and play our Asvalai. Now Asvalai, key piece in here, because as you can see, our opponent does not run any Arcane Barrier. No Null Rune Boots, none of it. So because of that, we are taking full advantage on getting as much arcane damage as possible onto our opponents. We are coming in again with just the Blaze Headlong. In a game like this, you don't ever want to attack with the dragon and then attack with physical attacks. You want to attack with the physical attacks first to force your opponent to either take a bunch of damage or to block, and then that way you can come in with a dragon without a ton of fear. So in this situation, a little bit of a lull here, but I'm trying to get a Quicken token set up for me. I get a Quicken token here for the next time, which is super great. This helps out with my turn because I then get to play a Dust Up. Dust Up is coming in for 4 and does pop the Quicken token. So this is now going to be for 4 go again. I'm sorry, is that a 4? I can't remember if that's a 2 or a 4. Obviously, it seems that my silly self is not moving the dice over, but we'll go ahead and see here. I believe it's just for 2 because my opponent just blocks 2 here. And I get to go ahead and get a Might token now because they blocked with the Civic there, which is pretty cool. So there we go. That's always a good thing to be at. We want to make sure to get as much value out of those pieces of armor my opponent has. If we can kind of get those down further and further, we don't have to worry so much about them when I come in for more breakpoints like Ravenous Rabble and Blaze Headlong later on into the game. So I didn't attack with Asvali because that's silly. I'm going right into a popper. My opponent then is going to just attack me for 6. Now in this situation, I would have probably just spent most of my resources killing dragons, just because there's not a lot of room for me to have a ton of dragons in the deck. So if you have an opportunity to just block out fairly efficiently and then kill dragons, it's a pretty easy turn for you, especially since I have no Ash. But if I play a red card, I get to kind of go off on my turn, which is really, really good. So 6 coming in here. I'm trying to figure out whether or not I want to block with 3 or just block with a little. He's got 2 cards in hand. Pummel, while it is still a problem, you know, it's just physical damage, but this is a low health format. So coming in for possibly 10 damage, which he does, 10 damage on the Anathos. I'm then going to block 4 here, so it's just 6 again. But even still, 10 damage on an Anathos, even with no on hit, if I didn't play that Fate Foreseen, taking 10 damage is no joke. So happy to know that they're wasting a pummel. I guess it's not really a waste. I mean, that was a lot of damage, but happy to know that a pummel was used. It's kind of my whole play style here, is I want to make sure that I'm keeping track of the pummels in my opponent's deck. That way I know that I'm not going to run into a trap that I don't need to, right? So we come in with the Billing Mirage. I am going to go ahead and pitch a Rake the Embers here. That's going to get me an Ash, and then I'm going to make that Ash an Ash Wing. So again, still no Ash in this situation here, but 4 go again because the Might token pops, and now this gets an additional +1. I lose the Clash on the Test of Strength. So good call there, being able to just block it on the Test of Strength. You'll see, I believe later on in the game, I do make a note of something, but we'll check on that later. So he does win the Clash, he gets the gold, gets to draw a card. Now I'm just going to go ahead and pitch this Passing Mirage to come in with this Ember Moss Centipi for a whopping 6. Now it has Phantasm, but if it does get destroyed by Phantasm, I do get an Ash token, which is good. Again, a lot of the stuff in these low health formats, these young formats, is mainly just trying to get Ash. And so if I can generate Ash as passively as possible, I'll be able to be set up pretty well for my turn when that happens. So that Ember Moss Centipi did get popped. So now we're going to go ahead and we are going to transfer it on over. Our opponent's going to destroy the gold in order for them to draw a card. They pitched a Golden Sun to draw a card. And now they're coming in with a Anathos for 6. Now this is a good use of your resources here, because you do want to try to keep a lot of things in your deck. It's easy to get fatigued. I am going to block 7 here though, take no damage. I did kind of want to just get stuff out of my hand, make sure that I'm able to block efficiently. If I don't block efficiently, I don't get to do a whole lot. Now that we have the Miragai Asvali combo though, we are sitting very pretty. So now we can go ahead and swing with our Asvali for 2 and 1 Arcane. They have to take the Arcane damage, brings them down to 15. And then we get to go ahead and threaten 2 more physical damage, which is not easy to block since they only have a -1 counter on both of their pieces of armor. This Ashwing is going to come in and they're going to take 1. You don't ever attack with the Miragai unless they have like no cards left in their hand, because that's an easy way for you to lose the game. So this is coming in here for 9. 9 disable. I believe disable is the... Oh, I can't remember which one this does. I think this is something to do with your attack has like -2. Maybe that's debilitate. But I go ahead and block 9 here. But I do get hit pummeled, which is fine though. Pummel's now coming in for 4, so 4 damage I'd be taking here. But the card in my hand is the Sigil of Solace. So I am going to go ahead and gain 3, take 4. Essentially just taking 1 damage there, not having to discard a card. That's kind of what I was hoping for, because that made it to where I was able to put a lot of focus on it. Yeah, obviously, they didn't kill the Miragai, which means I get to do Asvali shenanigans all over again. Now, here's the issue. I get Test of Strength into the Asvali. And for those of you who don't know, Test of Strength, you can still block it with Asvali, which they choose to do, but they do not clash because that is not the attacking hero. That is an attacking ally. So if I used it, you can only use clash on attack actions that your opponent is attacking you with. You cannot clash with an ally because the ally does not have a deck. So that is a little bit of a misplay on their end. It's kind of unfortunate, but they're blocking out the damage as best as they possibly can. But it looks like they're still fairly in the driver's seat here. 9 to 11. I got my mirror guy killed, and now I have to kind of figure out what I'm going to do with the rest of my turn. I am going to go ahead and just continue making Ash and getting more physical damage in. It's kind of weird because you want to play half like Dromai and half like FaB, where you're coming in with these 3 and these 4 attack go again cards to really just kind of pressure your opponent and get their health down. So that way you have cards like Asvali to really power through and get that to happen. So the same thing happened there again. My opponent blocks with the Civic Steps, which is great for me because I get a Quicken token, which then I get to play my Dust Up Red coming in for 4 with Go Again. So that gets fully blocked out. I have 4 Go Again. It's an insane thing. And I get another Might token for next turn. So it turns out these Might tokens and Quicken tokens are really, really helpful for my deck because my Dust Ups getting Go Again really helps out my game plan. I get another 1 in. I don't decide to attack with Asvali there because I do want to make sure that if they want Asvali dead, they have to do it themselves. So they then get to come in with a Debilitate. I believe Debilitate's the one with the -2 on your next attack. So 8 with 2 float. Obviously, again, we're trying to figure out whether or not there are pummels that are more terrifying than we would ever need them to be. And 8 obviously is a lot of damage. I can't just take 8 and go to 1, especially with the threat of a looming pummel. So I do have to block pretty efficiently here. Luckily, I believe I have a decent amount of D-reacts to take care of this. But even still, all I need to do on my turn is play a red, and I'm pretty okay. Especially if that red is an attack action. I do have Mage Master's Boots, and I have other things available there too. So I really don't need to worry too bad into what it is. Now, what we looked through there in their graveyard was how many pummels they had, how many red pummels they had specifically. Because if they bump that up to 12, that hurts a lot more than bumping it up to 11 if I can block for like 9 or whatever here. So pretty important turn for me to determine this. Obviously, Debilitate does not really affect the dragons from what I know, but I do want to block out as much as possible. So I do block 3. They are going to pummel. They are bringing it to a whopping 11, and then I'm going to sigil. So I'm at 12, and then I'm taking 11 and discarding a card. Or I'm sorry, I'm at 12, I'm taking 8, discarding a card. That's what we're doing here. And so I'm discarding a Ravenous Rabble in this situation. So 4 to 10, really not a great place I want to be in, but I have to take some risks, especially because I have this Mirror Guy in my hand. Mirror Guy, again, it's just like an auto target. You put a beacon on it, and your opponent has to do something about the Mirror Guy, otherwise it's a problem. So they're going to take 1 there from Asvali in the Arcane, and then 2 physical is coming in. I like that I've set up a lot to where I'm keeping my Mirror Guys, Chromais, and Asvalis near one another. I've already threw all my Yenderais. I'm not running Uvias, and I haven't gone into any Thamais because I'm pretty sure I just took... I don't believe I took Thamai out for Passing Mirage, but I added in quite a bit. I think the only thing I didn't add into this match was a Oasis Respite. So I swung with nearly everything there. They took it all. So now it's 6 to 4. This is getting way closer to the wire here. Because even at 6, I still have another Asvali in my deck. And if I'm able to just keep chipping away at this arcane damage, I still have 2 pieces of equipment available, and my opponent has no equipment available. So what I would imagine is my opponent's going to just try and go for game, because that's what you want, right? You want your opponent to just go for game, especially if you think you can power through and get 4 additional damage. But I know they're out of red pummels now, and they only have like blue pummels left in their deck, which is nowhere near as terrifying. So they're coming at me for 6. I'm going to block 6, and my opponent is going to blue pummel me. So that is going to be 2 damage to me. I'm going to go ahead and bring it down, if I recall correctly, unless I have a D-react in hand, which I don't believe I do. So, sorry, that was a yellow pummel. Did I take 1 extra damage there? I'm not honestly too sure, but I did get an additional damage there. So, but that was coming in for 8. I blocked. Anyway, that might have been 5 and not 6. Because I forgot what cards I blocked with there. But anyway, we're coming in with Ravenous Rabble. Ravenous Rabble, I revealed a blue, so unfortunately that's just 2 damage. But my opponent feels bad about blocking that 2 damage, so they just take it. Asvali then gets to come in for 2 and 1 Arcane, so now they're at 3. We're getting kind of down to the wire. Like I said, 3 life with still an Asvali in deck, and he's not clearing dragons. I have to be able to block out as efficiently as possible, and if they don't block this turn, then they get hurt pretty bad. So they block that. I get to come in with an Ashwing then for 1. They're either going to pop this one to end my turn, or they're going to be totally chill. So they pop it. I get to go ahead and keep going on my turn. I still have an Asvali and a Mirror Guy and 3 Ash. The thing is, though, is I'm down to like the last couple of cards in my deck. I don't have much left. So Anathos is going to come in, and Anathos is going to deal 6. I believe 6 is coming at me. So I have to, again, figure out what I'm going to do here. They have 1 float and I believe 1 card in hand. So I don't think they need to worry so much about pummel there. And I just get to keep going on my turn, right? If I play a red card, I get to go do stuff. So I get to bring down the trifecta here in playing Chroma. Now this board state is terrifying to anybody, especially since I get to first attack with the Asvali, guaranteeing that that one has the arcane damage and the no phantasm. That gets blocked out. Then I swing with Dromai. Dromai gets me that action point if it gets popped, and it gets me an action point if it attacks. So we go ahead and we get that action point, and with that action point, I then get to go ahead and come in with a red dust up again. This one is for 4, and they're at 2. So they have to block pretty efficiently. They've given me 2 cards already this turn. I still have an Asvali on board and a Mirror Guy. So it's pretty important that they don't go down to 1. Because if they go down to 1, they die. That's just how this works. They block 3 here, go down to 1, and then I make an Ashwing. And it's so far so good. We then go ahead and draw up. I have 1 card left in my deck, 4 cards in hand. My opponent then goes ahead and attacks the Asvali, protecting themselves from the arcane damage. But my hand draws pretty well because the heart of the cards is in my favor, and I play Asvali. And then I go ahead and I swing in Asvali for game 1 in Dromai's favor. So that was it. That was the first match in the top 8 against Victor. Very, very difficult matchup to go around, especially since, I mean, there were mostly mistakes on Pat's end, which I don't fault him for. I mean, playing in the moment and kind of trying to figure out your game plan is different. But I feel like when you're a Guardian going into a Dromai, you have to just make sure that it's kind of like playing the mirror match. Your whole thing is just block efficiently and kill dragons. If you can block efficiently and kill dragons, just Anathos, 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 your odds of winning are significantly better. Because even if I can only ping you with arcane damage once, right? Especially in Clash, there's no burn them all, there's no Flamescale Furnace, there's no there's no Tonal Tie, there's none of these other things that exist. And so it's very, very easy to just go, hey, Dromai, you're not doing anything. I'm just going to kill your dragons, and then I'm going to have 20 cards left in my deck, and you're going to have nothing, and that's going to be the end of the game. So I think, obviously the block with the Test of Strength onto the Asvali was a little unfortunate because they were unaware that that's what that did, is that you cannot clash with a dragon. You can't clash with an ally. You can only clash with another hero. So that's something to bring forward. I really like how this Dromai deck is playing now because it feels a lot more defensive. It feels like there's a lot more going on with it. And I do really feel like it pilots a lot like my classic instructed version of Dromai with Sigil of Solaces, all the D-reacts, Oasis Respite in sideboard if I need it for something. And then it's just play the important dragons, right? Chromai, Asvali, Miragai, Yenderai. And, for wizards, you can just play Themai, right? Passing Mirage and so on and so forth. So it's a very, very tight match, but I was glad to get the win on Dromai, which means that I'm going to have to switch heroes in my next match. So make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you want to go ahead and check out that next match that happens. I'll go ahead and post that hopefully sometime very, very soon, and we can go ahead and get more Clash gameplay into your hands. So thank you all so much for watching. If you did want to go ahead and support the channel in a more monetary way, we do have channel members available here. So if you did want to become a channel member to support the wonderful Clash gameplay I'm bringing to you all, make sure to go ahead and become a member. We have 3 different tiers. You get special member-only videos. You get emotes for when I'm live and loyalty badges and all that jazz. So if you enjoy those things, go ahead and make that happen. But it's absolutely not necessary. A subscribe is perfectly fine. And let me know in the comments down below how you felt this matchup went and how you might have played this Dromai or this Victor a little bit better. And I will see you all in the next game. Make sure to have fun in the flesh and blood, and I'll see you real soon. Nerd out.